Good afternoon, Year 5, Mr. Turnbull here, and welcome back to your next video history lesson. Let's just have a quick recap from what we learnt with Mr. Forster in the last lesson. We learnt in depth about the feudal system in Britain at the time. We learnt that the period was approximately 476 AD until 1492 AD, although this is approximate, and Mr. Forster has also set you a task of looking at how the Black Death spread through the world, and that can be seen in the map in this picture. So our learning question for today is going to be, what were the causes and symptoms of the Black Death? Below is a link to a BBC website. The only thing I'd like you to watch on there is the video. I don't want you to look at any of the information at this point. Don't worry about the tasks for now, we're going to come on to those at the end of the lesson. So, causes summarised from the video. This is what I thought they were, and I hope you got these ones as well, or some similar. Disease lived in fleas and was carried by rats. It was spread around the world through trading. People may not have understood the severity of the disease, and in the case on the video, there was one army actually used the disease as a weapon. Poor, open sewage systems, and no waste collection. So why couldn't they stop it? Now this is not a direct cause, however it could be a large contributor to the reason for the spread of the disease so rapidly. So medieval European medicine was very different from our modern concept of medicine. There was no knowledge of germs and only relatively basic tools to diagnose and treat illness. Much of medicine was, at best, based on ancient Roman and Greek ideas of the humours. Now this was from a long time ago, previous to this. The ideal was to balance specific fluids known as black bile, yellow bile, blood and phlegm, the fluids made by your ear, nose and throat. To be in a bad or good humour was evidence of how healthy you were. Other doctors would release evil spirits by trepanning, drilling a hole in your head to release them. Can you imagine being ill and going to the doctors and having to have your head drilled to release bad things from your body? Unbelievable. On the left there's an artist's interpretation, and this actually depicts some of that, as you can see in the image. There's someone being operated on and it looks really basic. I think they're using really basic tools from what I can see. What else can you see there? Crazy ideas. So as well as having basic medicine and basic medical knowledge at this point, doctors also had these ideas for why the disease might be spreading and killing people. The movements of the planets, a punishment from God, bad smells and corrupt air, enemies who would poison the wells, staring at a victim, wearing pointed shoes. Strangers to villagers too were blamed. What do you think about these ideas? Do you think they're sensible? Do you think we would think this today? For this part of the lesson, we're going to be looking at what were the symptoms like. This is a historical source, and it's actually a recount from someone who lived at the time in Wales. Now you might need to get your adult to check this, but I think it's either Juan Gethin or Juan Gethin. I might be wrong though, see what your parents think. What he said was this about the symptoms. We see death coming into our midst like black smoke, a plague which cuts off the young, and a rootless phantom which has no mercy for fair countenance. Woe is me of the shilling in the armpit. It is seething, terrible wherever it may come, and a head that gives a pain and causes a loud cry, a burden carried under arms, a painful, angry knob, and a white lump. It is of the form of an apple, like the head of an onion, a small boil that spares no one. Great is its seething, like a burning cinder, a grievous thing of ashy colour. It is an ugly eruption that comes with unseemly haste. They are similar to the seeds of the black peas. Broken fragments of brittle sea coal and crowds precede the end. It is a grievous ornament that breaks out in a rash. They are like a shower of peas, the early ornaments of Black Death. Now there are a lot of words there that are really quite complex and hard to understand. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to use your research methods to find some of them. Some of them we can work out just by reading using our inference skills. So, woe is me of the shilling in the loud cry, a burden carried under the arms, a painful, angry knob. This is talking about a large lump that's under the armpit, isn't it? And we'll see if another account is similar. So this account is a little bit more easy to understand, and it's from Giovanni Boccaccio in Italy, 1348. So it's not from Britain, but it's from mainland Europe, and this is what they say was happening at the time. This is their interpretation of it. It began in men and women with certain swellings in the groin or under the armpit. They grew to the size of a small apple or an egg more or less, and were vulgarly called tumours. In a short space of time these tumours spread from the two parts named all over the body. Soon after this the symptoms changed, and black or purple spots appeared on the arms or thighs, or any other part of the body. Sometimes a few large ones, sometimes many little ones. These spots were a certain sign of death, just as the original tumour had been and still remained. The doctor's advice: no medicine would overcome or alleviate this disease. An enormous number of ignorant men and women set up as doctors in addition to those who were trained. Either the disease was such that no treatment was possible, or the doctors were so ignorant that they did not know what caused it, and consequently could not administer the proper remedy. In any case, very few recovered. Most people died within about 3 days of the appearance of the tumours described above, most of them without any fever or other symptoms. The violence of this disease was such that the sick communicated it to the healthy who came near them, just as a fire catches anything dry or oily near it. So these are our tasks for today. If you are in green group, what I'd like you to do is recall causes and symptoms of the Black Death. So what I'd like you to do is, I'd like you to tell me what the main symptoms were and what were the causes. Look back at the video, and if you need to, go back onto the BBC link to check what the other reasons were. If you're in red group, your learning objective is to identify causes and specific symptoms of the Black Death using sources. So what that means is you need to identify these and you need to use the sources. You could use the sources from this video, the recounts from the different people who lived at the time, or could you find some other sources online to add to your work? That would be excellent. In purple group, your learning objective is to rank the causes of the Black Death and use sources to explain the severity of the disease. So what I'd like you to do is, I'd like you to say which causes you think were had the most impact on the disease, and which ones weren't so important, and rank them in order and explain why. And use the sources again from this video, or you could use ones that you found yourself from your own research to explain the severity of the disease. And you could even use quotes from those recounts. So I will upload the learning objectives onto Teams. You can select the one that's appropriate for you. You can use Word, you can screenshot an image and upload from your book like some of you have been doing, or if you have access you could even create your own PowerPoint presentation. Good luck with the work and have a great day.